I really hope these fans that's talking to Skip really took advantage of this opportunity and really exposed him for just certain things, bro. Because I feel like Skip knows his stuff, but he be saying outlandish stuff just to hate sometimes, bro. So I hope they did. I hope they did their job with this. Not gonna lie. Let's get into it though.
Mahomes went 7-for-7. What do you think of that one, Skip? Tell me, come on, buddy.
I think we're going to go in the direction of Stephen Curry. And I'm going to point out one word.
Steph Curry?
He was throwing balls
See,
to
look,
his receivers,
look.
hitting them in the helmets
Steph,
and stuff like
what?
that,
Like
and they
what?
weren't catching the
It
ball.
was
There was a lot
31
of
to
things.
9. I'm Skip Bayless. I've been a sports commentator for many years on ESPN and on Fox. Now I host the Skip Bayless Show on YouTube. Right now, I am surrounded by 20 NBA and NFL super fans, and I wish each and every one of you the best of luck today because you're going to need it. My first claim is Magic Johnson is the greatest Laker of all time.
I know you think Magic is the greatest Laker of all time.
I do.
Skip, I think it's Kobe. I think the game is about a bucket at the end of the day. I think the priority is scoring the basketball. Kobe did that better than Magic. I think both of them were very, very transformative in what they did for the Laker franchise and the NBA in general. And I would give it to Kobe, because of his scoring prowess and also, of course, how transformative he was and how many players he inspired.
Look, I take
My thing on this, I might be stopping these just to give my point of view across between each segment. We don't know, but my take on this is that's kind of a hard question to answer, because like our generation, yeah, like people now, younger people, they're gonna say Kobe, like without a doubt. But being a basketball historian, as I like to think I am, man, you can't just easily skip by Magic Johnson like that, bro. Like me personally, if I'm thinking about it, I would say Kobe, but Magic Johnson has an argument too. Like I can't disagree with Magic either. Feel me? Like Kobe would just be my personal choice, but Magic, he like when you think about Kobe, people say he's like a mirror image of Michael Jordan, right? Magic Johnson he's the first and only Magic. There ain't no other Magic Johnson. If you're gonna compare somebody to Magic Johnson, people compare Bron to him, but like Magic Johnson was the first of his kind, bro. He played center in the finals. He played point guard. Like he's like Magic Johnson is really like he's not somebody you could just not say is the greatest Laker of all time. I mean, like he has an argument, bro. And I wouldn't be mad at Magic.
nothing away from Kobe's ability to score buckets, get buckets, because nobody was greater in the history of the game. Magic did transform the franchise because remember, Kareem had been a Laker for 4 years doing next to nothing until Magic walks in the door in 1980 and turns them around and gets them all the way to a Game 6 at Philadelphia in the finals, in which Kareem could not go. And I believe Magic Johnson that day at Philadelphia that evening played the greatest NBA game of all time, greatest playoff game, because he goes as a rookie for 42, 15, and 7 with 3 steals. He makes 14 of 23 shots and all 14 of his free throws and lifts the Lakers over Dr. J's Sixers to a championship, and he's off to the races. Now,
Is that not OD as a rookie, bro? Is that not OD? This is what I'm saying. Like a lot of the younger generation, like they don't like nobody knows. Like they know the name Magic Johnson, but they don't know nothing about like what he did back then, bro. Magic was really different. He was really different, bro. Like, and it's not just somebody you could just easily say, yes, Kobe is Kobe, but like it took Kobe some time. I mean, this is his rookie year, bro. This is Magic Johnson's rookie year. This is his rookie year in the finals. He played like center for real, bro. Like he did the tip ball, he jumped ball, all that. Like, yeah. I don't know, bro. Magic, he was special, bro.
Let's look quickly at Kobe. Again, no disrespect, but I feel like Kobe was obviously Robin to Batman in the three-peat with Shaq, because Shaq dominated those three finals the way no players ever dominated an NBA Finals to me, including Jordan. That's why I think Shaq is the second greatest Laker of all time. And in those finals, Kobe was good, but he wasn't close to the production that Shaq was equaling. So then Shaq, they fall apart. They lose to the Pistons, obviously, 2004, and he's gone, traded away to Miami. And here we go. So Kobe, without Shaq, misses the playoffs the first year. Then they lose to the Suns in the first round, and he has the pout game in Game 7, and it was hard for me to forgive him for that. And then they lose to the Suns in the first round the next year, and then they lose to Boston in the finals. In the closeout Game 6, Kobe is horrible in that game, and they lose by 39 points at Boston. I can't defend that. They broke through and beat Dwight Howard's Magic. It was supposed to be LeBron's Cavs. So I thought that was a little overrated. And then even when they did beat Boston and get over the hump, in Game 7, Kobe was 6 of 24 in that game. So I don't know. I agree with your big picture, but when I go little picture of playoff performance without Shaq,
why are they holding
I'm
up the
sorry.
red flags?
I totally understand what you're saying, and I think Magic was extraordinary. And to be a rookie and start at center in the finals as a point guard, I mean, we've never seen that before. I don't know if we ever will.
Yes.
And yeah, he was terrific. He was splendid. He won his championships. Of course, Kobe got his. And I understand you picking out these individual games and years and teammates and everything. And I think, you can really do that with anyone. And I think it's important to look at the big picture.
Kobe's
because
mystique was bigger than Magic's, but if you look at Magic's productivity, how he changed a culture that both Shaq and Kobe benefited from piggybacking that culture, I'm going slightly Magic over Shaq, Shaq over Kobe. Good job, Jack.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Way to go.
What's the red flag, though?
So, Kobe Bryant, 20 years with the same team, 18 All-Stars, 15 All-NBA, 12 All-Defense, MVP, 2 Finals MVPs, 5 championships. And even though he's done all of that, I think what makes him the greatest Laker of all time, it's different than what makes a player the greatest player of all time. Because like LeBron's not the greatest Heat player of all time, that's Dwayne Wade. So it's not just, are you better, like, are you greater? It's what you've done for that city and that franchise. And I would argue it, I love Magic. I grew up on Magic. But when you watch...
It feels like you grew up more on Kobe, right?
I'm older than I look, honestly. But Magic, when you saw him on the court, he was like the greatest showman, right? He's a performer, charisma, a smile, the flashiness, showtime, right? Kobe, when you saw him on the court, it was like watching your brother, your sibling, or your uncle or something, your son, because he had this fully realized character arc. He was a rookie, he failed, not drafted by the Lakers, but we got him early. And the air balls, and then the rising to prominence, 2000.
He was just 18 years old, but go ahead.
Yeah. But 2000, taking over in the finals after Shaq got hurt, after Jalen Rose shadily sprained his ankle, and then he came back, and then, he got
That's a great point.
later.
He came in as an 18-year-old kid, bro.
And then there was another.
He was there the whole career.
Kind of a villain arc.
That's a great point.
There was like Colorado.
There was Colorado.
Straight out of high school.
Down years.
Good. Like it.
If you're a fan, Kobe's with you that whole time. And I actually didn't like Kobe early on. I was mad when they started playing him over Eddie Jones, like early days.
No, that's crazy to
And
say.
you went through all of that, and Kobe just won you over. That's why there are more than 350 murals of Kobe in LA.
Okay, so you're making the case that Kobe is dearer to your heart than Magic was. He has a bigger place in your heart.
As a Lakers
I'm
fan,
making the case that
I
Magic
get that.
had greater impact consistently than Kobe had, because Magic was the driving force of the Showtime Lakers, and Kobe was not the driving force of the three-peat, right?
Sure. Well, let me address that real quick. Because you're going to the finals and you're talking about Shaq, but that's always with the team from the East, and the East had notoriously bad big men. Everyone knows in those years, the finals was the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in those those series,
Mm-hmm.
Kobe was instrumental. You know, in 2002, Kobe and Shaq basically throughout the whole playoffs had equivalent points. Yeah, the same amount of points. And Shaq himself has admitted on, you know, various podcasts and different things, he was never the guy to take the last shot. I know you value that, right? Jordan's your guy. Kobe is the closest thing that we've ever seen to Jordan. And he was a guy who never shied away from the moment. He was a guy who always made the most of his opportunity when it was there.
I give you that.
And I don't think he gets enough credit for the second run that he made with Powell. That team wasn't. I mean, that's not an all-time team.
No.
You know, his all-time. His
But
supporting
his
cast
breakthrough was
all-time.
not against an all-time team.
I
because
don't
remember,
know.
The Magic upset LeBron's Cavaliers to get to the finals,
yes.
right?
I mean, I give you that, but you can only play the team that, you know. I think LeBron, maybe he's the one who didn't. They had the Nike commercials, you know.
is
But
true.
Bron had to
LeBron
get there,
did
bro.
so
Bron
good.
should have
Yeah.
got
He
there,
did hold up
man.
his
But
end in the bargain.
I mean,
Okay, so you're okay
Bron
with
shoulda
Kobe
got there.
pouting in a Game 7 at Phoenix against Raja Bell?
I'm not okay with it, but I mean, are you okay with 84, Tragic Johnson, where,
but
you
he
know,
was
runs
Tragic
out
Johnson.
the clock, throws the turnover?
Okay,
I mean,
he did,
everyone's
but he
got
bounced
failures.
right
That's
back
a
the next
fact.
year in 85, and he shoots a baby
and
hook shot.
Kobe bounced back the next year by going to the finals.
Okay, he did. Yeah, after the pout.
After the pout, yeah.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I don't, that's what, to me, those failures you're pointing at, every player has failures, except for maybe who's your GOAT. But
Jordan has failures, bro.
every player has that.
Every
Magic
player has
that,
failures.
Kobe
It
has
happens. It's
that.
part of the
I think
game, part of the process.
In terms of LA and LA.
Okay, but if you look at Shaq's numbers in those three finals, and I give you that the big men, the Tim Duncans, were over on the other side of the bracket, right? But he goes 38, 17, and 2 in their first finals.
God.
33, 16, and 5, and 36, 12, and 4. Look at the assists. He's averaging 5 assists a game in the NBA Finals. Listen, those 3 years, and I've been doing this a long time. I was actually covering the Kareem Lakers pre-Magic out here in LA.
I'm about to get voted out real quick.
Okay.
real quick. Were any of those finals really competitive? Pacers, Sixers, and Nets. No, they weren't competitive. They dominated those teams.
Because
So Shaq,
you had the greatest offense.
Hold on, bro. Just asked, is that Mari from like the you talking about the show, the reality show that be on TV? Is that who you asking if this is? This is Skip. You think him and Skip Bayless look alike? Yo, man.
of force I've ever seen, including Jordan, where he was unrefereeable at that point because I never knew whether it's offense or defense, on the foul.
I think Kobe could easily have had better numbers. He didn't have to. Shaq, those teams were not equipped to play against the Lakers. Credit Allen Iverson for getting the one game in 2001.
He was big. That was the greatest achievement of his career. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job.
And when you get more than half flags, it's a new person up. Okay. They probably giving him like 5 minutes each to talk. Okay.
Way to go. Okay, you're getting close. I will.
How you doing?
Nice to see you.
Yep, so how is Magic the greatest Laker of all time when he wasn't even the greatest Laker on this team? That's Kareem. Kareem was first all-time in Lakers points, first in rebounds, first in blocks, first in field goals made. And he had an unstoppable move in
This
the
is
sky.
true,
Luke
but
has
no.
one more championship because he has 6, Magic has 5, and he has 3 more MVPs.
Okay.
We haven't even got to Kobe yet.
We haven't. All right, let's look hard at Kareem's career. So he wins his first ring in Milwaukee, helped by Oscar Robertson, kind of at the end of his career. So that's 1971. Then he goes 4 more years in Milwaukee and nothing really. They were pretty good, but they weren't great. Then he comes to LA in 76 is his first year with the Lakers. And again, there's no Magic yet, obviously.
Right.
And they miss the playoffs the first year. The second year, they get swept by Portland in the conference finals. The third year of Kareem, no Magic, they lose in the first round to Seattle. And the fourth year, Kareem, no Magic, they lose in the conference semifinals to Seattle. So they're floundering with Kareem because he was a follower and not a leader. I give you every point you made about points and about rebounds
it's
and
more
about
than just
blocks,
stats,
about
though.
skyhooks and
It's more than just
all that
stats.
is
Greatest is not the
sensational,
best.
But there's
Feel
a
me?
missing ingredient called leadership,
Greatest.
charisma,
Yeah,
whatever
bro.
that greatest intangible is that Magic had greater than anybody this side of Jordan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I give
Okay.
you that. I give you that for sure.
right.
But the thing about it is, you were talking about in 1980, right, when Magic won Rookie of the Year. Would he have won Rookie of the Year if he would have, Yeah, would he have
If?
won Rookie of
Without
the
Kareem,
Without
you mean?
Kareem was averaging 33 points that series.
Well, I would like to
Before
think
he-
he
before
would
he got
have.
injured in
He could have
Game
gone
6.
to
If
Utah or
we
wherever
talking
he would've
about
gone. I
ifs,
just
bro,
think he would have been Rookie of the Year.
you can't argue
But
ifs,
he
bro. We're
was
not talking
the perfect
hypotheticals
fit at
with the
perfect
80s.
moment
Right?
for this team.
Like, what
And
the
it
hell?
became a super
But-
team,
okay,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah, it was Showtime, and they had big game.
Yeah, get him
names,
off this-
obviously.
yeah.
They had Byron, and
That
they
was
had
a
Michael
bad-
Cooper
that was a bad-
guarding the way nobody could guard on
Him
curve.
off the
I give you all
stand,
that,
bro.
but it gelled around the new son, S-U-N, who was Magic, right?
Right.
And he lifted them into what was 9 finals, okay?
Yep.
And he is the driving force. Kareem wasn't. Kareem was really more of a Robin, but you can make a case he was the greatest Robin of all time.
Right.
Okay? I give you all your numbers because clearly it took LeBron playing now 22
Yeah,
years, but it
exactly.
took 21 years to break Kareem's record.
And that's the point that I was making is that at the end of the day, like, unless Kareem just got unlucky because the best player of all time, LeBron James, took that scoring title from him, but he would have been able to keep that for his whole life. And then
He
if we
would
go
have.
to Kobe, right?
Right.
For example, if I was to take your papers right there, ball them up in a trash can and shoot it, whose name would we say? We wouldn't say Magic.
No.
Who we saying? We saying Kobe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. And when we talk about like keeping that mentality, how you go
Yeah.
through life, how you focus on what you need to do in life, nobody says, keep that magic. They say keep that Mamba mentality. That's what it's all
Keep that
about.
magic.
You grew up in the Mamba mentality era, am I right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. That's why I started off with Kareem first.
Okay, all right, you do, and I give you that.
Yeah.
But Magic Johnson was the greatest NBA leader ever, beyond Bill Russell, beyond Michael Jordan, beyond we got Brady over on the other side in the National Football League, so that's another argument. But on just NBA leadership,
Right.
Magic on charisma, on winning time, as he
Yeah.
called it winning time, and
But-
in my generation, winning time was more important than because we didn't know Mamba mentality yet, right?
Right, I got
I
you.
want winning time.
I got
You
it.
know,
But
I'm
Kobe,
Magic.
Kobe had the same type of leadership style as far as like Kobe
did.
had aura. Like,
did.
jobs not finished, like all of those things, but also
Magic
he
did
showed
too,
it in
though.
actions first. You know what I mean?
He did.
wasn't really
I
about the
think-
partying or going out. He was so dedicated
I
to the
think
craft.
Kobe was a Jordan-esque leader, and he modeled every bit of his action, his very body language
Mm-hmm.
after Michael Jordan, and he led like Jordan did, and it wasn't a pretty sight because he could be a real, just a tough leader, like a.
Mm-hmm.
He gave nobody any slack at all. He pushed, he pulled, he cursed, he did it the way Jordan did it.
I
And it
agree.
was scary. It was like an intimidation, leadership by intimidation. Magic did it with a smile, but Magic, listen, I got to know him in his rookie year. He was as tough as they came. You wouldn't want to mess with him.
I agree with you. I mean, leadership comes in all different forms, right?
Yeah.
You never know how somebody's going to choose to lead, but Kobe led in plenty of ways, and also all of the players that picked up a basketball because of his presence. We wouldn't have Devin Booker without Kobe. Jason Tatum is
I'm with
doing
you,
what he does.
but
So,
I'm
yeah.
looking at the first 4 years with no Shaq, and Kobe really struggled by himself
Mm-hmm.
because he couldn't figure out yet how to lead because he was a solo act of solo acts.
Of course.
So it took Jordan a while to figure out, hey, you actually need those 4 other guys along with 8, 9 other guys to get this done. And with Phil's help, he finally figured that out when they broke through. But even after the pout game in Game 7, if I look at Kobe winning the championship, getting even with the Boston Celtics in that Game 7, he shoots 6 of 24 in a Game 7. Well, that's not Mamba mentality, and I didn't love that. It's like, remember, Ron Artest, Meta World Peace, hit the shot of shots in that game with a minute left. He hits a big 3 that gave them the cushion.
I'm a Celtics fan. I watched that. It broke my heart.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, thank you, Skip.
Way to go. Good job.
I think that Magic Johnson is one of the greatest Lakers of all time, but because he had a shortened career, unfortunately.
He did. It was still 12 years, but it should have been 20
12 years, but not 20 like Kareem,
Yeah.
like Kobe, like LeBron.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go a little off path here. I'm going
Okay.
to argue that the logo was the greatest Laker of
You
all
can?
time. He only won one, but he had to play against the greatest dynasty in the history of the sport. He had to play against the greatest leader in the history of the sport, I think, Bill Russell, who would make, like Magic, everybody around him better. Also, he scouted for the Lakers afterwards.
He did.
He coached the Lakers during the time that you're talking about Kareem getting there.
Not well, but he coached.
They actually did okay. They actually did okay. They didn't have a great team, but they did. Like, I think they got the Western Conference Finals at least once. And then he stepped aside, and when Buss wanted to hire Riley, because Magic pushed Westhead, right?
Out, yep.
Buss tried to make them co-coaches, and West and Riley, and West right afterwards said, that's not the case. It's Riley's team.
Right, he wanted no part of that.
And he's a badass, like, in that way. And he put together Showtime. He put together Shaq and Kobe. He helped Memphis have a team at all.
Okay,
he
but
helped
we're
put together.
not talking about post-career. We're talking about playing career, because Jerry
talking about
West, to me, is the greatest GM ever in the history of the NBA. And by the way, Michael Jordan was the worst GM in the history of the NBA.
Not the worst.
Just for objectivity here. But to your point, okay, so Jerry West and the Lakers get to 9 finals, and he loses 8 times, and a lot of it had to do with that guy, Bill Russell.
To the greatest team ever.
But if I swap out, if I put Magic in place of the logo on those teams, Magic
win more than
was
one.
the greatest winner.
Yeah, they win
beside
more than
Michael
one,
Jordan
bro.
that I ever closely observed
They
and
win
got
more
to
than
know.
one.
So
Come on
if you
now.
put him in on those Jerry West
Jerry
teams,
West is a terrible
with Wilt
argument,
and
bro.
with Elgin and with Gail Goodrich, that he puts them over the top because of his dynamic charisma and leadership. It was unequaled. I've never seen anything like it.
Jerry's
It was the-
leadership, I'm sorry,
yeah,
but Jerry's
it was quiet leadership. It was, but it
but he
wasn't.
had Elgin,
Yeah, he did.
who was charismatic, who
Yeah.
was like Michael Jordan
No,
before Michael
I got
Jordan.
it, but man.
and West won the MVP of the finals, only person
In
I
a
think,
losing cause.
on a losing cause.
Yeah.
That's how
But
great he was.
He goes 1 and
He's
8
the
in the
logo
finals,
of the NBA.
and you can't say that's better than Magic's winning time Showtime.
Also, to be the greatest Laker ever doesn't mean you're the greatest Laker player ever necessarily. It
Yeah,
means
I
you're the
understand
greatest.
that.
So he's the only one that was great as a player, great as a scout, I think good as a coach, great as a GM, great as an advisor, great as a logo for the entire NBA the whole time. He didn't ever do anything wrong.
Okay,
and he played
but if
long.
you put Jerry West on the Showtime teams, do you think they're Showtime? Because they're not, because he didn't play with any.
Kurt Rambis was on the
basketball
Showtime
career.
team.
Well, he was. He was like a sixth man or badass enforcer.
Jerry
yeah.
West would have been fine. He would have been like Byron Scott or better, right?
Yeah, but again, if you didn't have Magic Johnson on those teams, you don't have Showtime. There's no more Showtime.
You don't have Showtime.
Jerry West
That's
was
what
as
he's trying to
pretty
say.
a jump shooter as I've ever seen. It was just beautiful form, and it was mesmerizing, but it wasn't
debate.
captivating,
Next debate.
right? It wasn't Magic Johnson.
just ruined this
I
one.
couldn't take my eyes off Magic because he had the big smile. He had the greatest smile in the history of the game.
Yes.
And it was contagious on his team. He lifted his entire team with his own charisma.
He did, like Russell, like Russell did in his own way. But I didn't realize that compellingness was part of what made somebody the greatest Laker ever. I thought it was like scoring.
Well, leadership. And
Leadership.
I don't think Jerry was a great leader.
Really?
I think he was more of a solo act. He stayed to himself. He was a quiet leader, but not dynamic.
He helped
not
manage-
a powerful voice in the locker room kind of leader,
He helped manage Wilt.
I guess, for a little while. And they got a championship. They got one championship
for the
out
best
of it.
Laker
Yeah.
team ever, arguably.
Yeah, you could certainly make a case for that.
Right.
Yeah. All right, good job. Way to go. My next claim is Michael Jordan is the GOAT and laughably better.
I don't even have to mute myself for this, bro. I mean,
Good,
pause the
how are you?
video
Nice
and
to meet
talk
you.
about
I'm a
mine.
big
We all
fan
know
of
it's
your
Brian.
career, everything you stand for in this industry, but
We all know it's
this
Brian.
awful take, I'm not going to let it seep through.
Okay.
So, Michael Jordan, there are two angles to looking at the GOAT debate. Number one, could Michael Jordan have done what LeBron is doing in this era, and vice versa? The other angle is there any single thing that Michael Jordan has done over the course of an entire career better than LeBron James? So I'm asking you, is there one thing that you could definitively say that Michael Jordan did better than LeBron James over the course of his entire NBA career?
Yeah, he won better. He just won and won and won. He was invincible and unbeatable, and he went 6-0 in the finals with 6 MVPs. And no, they didn't play the toughest competition in the finals, but the beasts were in the East, and he devoured and slayed the beasts one after another. Bird Celtics, then the bad boy Pistons, and then Reggie Miller's Pacers. And when you go 6-0 with 6 MVPs in the finals versus 4 and 6 in the finals for LeBron, and Ray Allen saved LeBron a loss there because LeBron had completely self-destructed in Game 6 of that 2013 finals. And then if Kyrie, when nobody can buy a shot, if Kyrie hadn't hit the shot of shots in Game 7 at Oracle, LeBron could be 2-8 in the finals. So we're talking about winning. I give you, I say it all the time, LeBron is still, to this moment, the best passer in basketball. I say it all the time. LeBron is still the greatest driver of the basketball I ever saw, to a fault, because he's a poor jump shooter, a poor three-point shooter by star standards, or certainly by superstar standards. And he's a poor free throw shooter by superstar standards. He should have 5,000 more points, but he's such a worse shooter than Jordan ever was as a jump shooter and a free throw shooter that it's hard for me to say,
it's not true.
How can you call LeBron the GOAT when he's a lousy shooter?
Part of the argument to what you said is everything you just said is wrong. So if you look at
that's not
if
true.
you look at true shooting percentage, which takes into account all the offense, all the scoring, who had the better true shooting percentage in his NBA career in the regular season? LeBron James. Who had the better true shooting percentage in the playoffs? LeBron James. And you just said Michael Jordan won a lot better. So starting 1-9 in the playoffs in his career doesn't count, just doesn't matter.
Okay.
Or losing to the Pistons over and over again because he was so dominated by any level of physicality because he was soft. So that does not count. That doesn't matter.
Wait, did you just call Michael Jordan soft?
Compared to LeBron
He
James?
was the baddest you-know-what who ever stepped on a basketball court.
Not
Trust
like
me,
LeBron.
I was there. Not like LeBron?
Not like LeBron.
LeBron
Nah,
is
not
like the
like
nicest
Bron.
guy ever. He's soft. He's a diva. He's thin-skinned. And can I start down the litany of epic fails that LeBron had that Jordan never had? Yeah, it took a while to break through against Larry Bird's Celtics. But remember that Michael Jordan had missed the whole year. He played 3 games and broke his foot. This is his second year in the league. And he comes back just for the playoffs and goes up against arguably the 86 Celtics were you could make a case they were the greatest team ever. And what does he do? He scores 49 in game 1, and in game 2, he scores 63. It took double overtime. But after that game, Larry
Jordan
Bird
is
said
crazy.
that was God disguised as Michael Jordan. Well, trust me, Larry Bird would have never said God disguised as LeBron James because look at the epic failures here. Do you remember 2010, the last go-around of the first stint in Cleveland? It's against the Celtics in the playoffs. It's the conference semifinals. They win big by 22. He's 14 of 22 from the floor. It's game 3. Then we get to 4, 5, and 6, and right on schedule, he just crumbles to the point that he had somebody from his inner circle tell Stephen A. Smith at ESPN, because I was there alongside Stephen A. at that point, that LeBron had to be sedated before games 4, 5, and 6 because he was having some locker room issue with a teammate, Delonte West. Listen, Michael Jordan never had any issues with locker room teammates because they wouldn't dare to have an issue with Michael Jordan. So the point was he had to be sedated? What a wimp, what a weenie. Is that what we're talking about? And then Dan Gilbert, his owner, a few weeks later, accused LeBron of quitting in those finals. And then do you remember the first go-around with the Heat, the 2011 finals? Do you remember the chosen one became the frozen one? I've never seen like it. Michael Jordan never did that. Even when they were starting 1-9, people were scared to death. Nice try. Yeah.
Nice try. Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah, you better get to that table. Get to that desk with Bron combo, bro. Get to that.
I'm ready to come get you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start here with you. You want to discredit talking about 1-9 in the playoffs, and then not even talk about the fact that he couldn't even get to the finals in his first 6, 7 seasons, right? So you prefer somebody not even making it to the finals? That's crazy. You want to
think of
discount
what
it?
he had in the way. He had two of the greatest teams ever in the way, and he didn't even have a Robin yet. He was going solo. He didn't have a Scottie
And
Pippen
LeBron did.
yet.
LeBron did first couple years.
Okay, I'll
LeBron
give you
did.
that. I
And
haven't
he
even
made it to the
brought up-
finals. He made it to the finals with
Okay,
a
and-
less roster than Jordan did.
And they got swept
Right.
by the Spurs, and I didn't even bring that up because I give you that one.
So
I'm not going to hold that
so
against
you want to
LeBron.
hold somebody accountable for going to the finals and losing than not going to the finals at all.
Okay.
Right? More money to the city, so many more things accomplished, less players on the team, right? Then his other final losses, right? You could even talk about the fact that when he went up against the Warriors, he didn't even have a running mate with him either, right? So every time you want to protect
but-
Jordan, I knew you were going to
real
go with
quick.
6-0.
Okay, so he goes up against the Warriors.
Okay.
And I always give him this. Those first three games, you remember, because he doesn't have Kevin Love, he was gone already, right? Kyrie fractures his kneecap in overtime of game one at Oracle. Remember this? LeBron put up the greatest numbers of his career for 3 straight games. And I'm like, you got this team, because they weren't the Warriors yet. They obviously didn't have KD yet, and they weren't sure who they were. So they're down 2-1, and game 4 is in LeBron's house in Cleveland. And in game 4, he was horrible. He goes 7 of 22. He was 5 of 10 from the free throw line. And I'm like, the next day, I'm telling Stephen A. on ESPN, he had a chance to step on their throats. It was, remember, the Iguodala game where Steve Kerr said, I'm going to switch. I'm going to start Iguodala, and I'm going to put him on LeBron. And LeBron just shrank. He closed up. He had them. If he had stepped on their throats and they'd gone up 3-1 in this is the 2015 finals, the first one against the Warriors, you got me. That you could make a go case. But instead, he shrinks and disappears in games. Here we go again. 4, 5, and 6 right on schedule, and they lose in 6 games. So he couldn't close deals. All the great clutch shots that Jordan made, they closed deals. LeBron's made a few clutch shots, but they never mattered. They were never meaningful. They never ended series or games or championships.
No, you see, that's where you're trying to pick and choose, right? You want to talk about clutch games, but then you don't want to talk about how he's dragged so many teams to the finals, right? And
Did
he's
he
the one
drag
who's,
the
and
Heat
he's
to
the
the
one
finals?
and he's the one hitting the game-winning shots, right? The same way he took Toronto out, right? The amount of times he did that countless times, you don't want to talk about that, though.
Well, I will.
You want to only talk about when Jordan does it in the finals, as if Jordan's career was only 6 years. He's 6
Okay.
on the finals, but his career isn't 6 years.
No.
He had 6 to 7 years before that, and then he had another 2 years in the Washington Wizards at 40 years old. We don't want to talk about LeBron at 40 now.
Okay, I
They
don't.
literally tried to
They were
drag
like-
him out the court.
they were-
Gilbert Arenas talked about how they literally was ready to hand him the keys and get Jordan out of there by 40.
They were
he was
two
a cancer.
ceremonial years. He wasn't a cancer.
Yeah,
he
was
was
a
running the show. He was going to be the GM and the head coach
they were
and
horrible.
the fading superstar.
So,
he
do
averaged.
those years don't count then. That's
Okay,
the way it sounds like
the
to me.
last 2 years I don't count.
That's crazy.
Okay,
So,
he-
but
he
then you
took-
want to
wait,
count
wait, wait,
everything
wait,
about
wait, wait.
LeBron. You want to count everything about LeBron, but then
Okay.
take some years out.
He took 3 years off. He retired because they ran his coach out the back door in Chicago,
whose
and he
fault is
said,
that?
"I'm out." Well, it was on pride and principle. He just said, "I'm out. I'm not going to play anymore." And he came
And
back because he
greatness
was.
means keep playing year in and year
No,
out.
it
Every
doesn't.
year, LeBron keeps extending his career because the love of the game, and that matters.
Okay,
Right? His
Jordan-
heart is still in it,
in
and
the
he's going
short
even
time he
towards
played,
40.
Jordan won 10 scoring titles to LeBron's 1 scoring title. Jordan was the defensive player of the year in 1989. He's the defensive
LeBron
player.
should have a
LeBron
defensive
was
player of
never
the
a
year.
defensive player.
He should
9
have one.
times Jordan was first team all
He got
defense.
robbed one
I'll
year.
give you 5 times early in his career, LeBron was first
Could
team
you
all
not
defense.
argue that LeBron should have gotten way more MVPs? Because he was always the best player all those years, but they don't count it.
Okay,
So now we're
you
going
don't-
to take away accolades from him
You don't
versus
think
at a
Jordan was
time.
the best player for 11 straight years in Chicago? He
that's
was.
fine. That-
It was just ridiculous how
That's-
much better he was.
I'm not arguing that.
Okay. All right. So let's look at LeBron's buzzer beaters, okay? Because I know them by heart.
And he has more buzzer beaters than Jordan.
No, he doesn't. It's 9-8 Jordan. It's 9-8. I'm not cherry picking. I'm not semantics. I'm just telling you the truth. It's 9-8 Jordan, and I'm giving the 8th that thing the other night.
I'm sorry, wait, you only talking about the playoffs, 9-8.
No, I'm doing total regular season of playoffs. The
There's
other night,
no way.
LeBron had a little tip in at the buzzer. Do you remember this? On Luka's missed shot, and LeBron's just right at the rim and just tips it
There's
over
no
the rim.
way.
And you have to count that as a buzzer beater. And it was the weakest, easiest buzzer beater in the history of buzzer beaters. Okay. All right.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So
Weakest
here
of buzzer
I'm going to
beaters.
get to Jordan's in a minute, but But I'm watching every game LeBron plays, and it took him 477 NBA games before he finally hit a walk-off shot, and it was on Ronnie Turioff. It was at Golden State. This is probably way before your time because this was January 23rd of 2009. It was a regular season game, okay? And he hit it, and I'm like, way to go. I stood up and gave him a standing ovation. And then he hit the shot heard round the world against Orlando in Game 2 at Cleveland. You'll remember this in the year that they ended up losing to the Magic.
True.
Okay.
But the game is more than just game-winning shots. You know that, right?
No,
Right now,
I know
you're going
that,
down a rabbit hole if
okay.
you want to talk about like clutch shots, end
Okay,
of game.
but
there's 47 minutes before that you got to play.
That.
Which
but
LeBron
here's the
is,
point.
Go ahead.
LeBron was born without a clutch gene. It's as simple as that. He just was. Jordan is the greatest clutch shooter I ever saw, and LeBron can be the weakest mentally superstar I've ever witnessed because he's afraid of the late game free throw line. And in late and close situations, since LeBron came into the league, he's the worst by far.
Why is basketball so much about the last 30 seconds when there's 47 minutes and 30 seconds in the game?
You're trying to make a
and there's
GOAT
so
case.
much, yeah, GOAT case, exactly.
Okay. And you're trying to make it
right?
over Michael Jordan.
Exactly.
You did a good job.
He did a great job right there.
You're going to need that cross around your neck.
Yes, I will. I don't think LeBron's the GOAT. I don't think Michael Jordan's the GOAT either, though.
Oh, so we're going a different direction.
I think we're going to go in the direction of Stephen Curry. And I'm going to point out
Oh.
your simple statement.
Oh my
in one
God.
word.
Steph Curry?
Oh my
You said
God.
laughably.
Okay.
And to me, that's bigger than Michael Jordan
Oh
versus
my
LeBron
God.
James. You are simply hitting and taking a hit, a personal shot at the entire game of basketball that we are watching today. And to me, you bring up competition. I think seeing Steph Curry and LeBron James and have go head to head in their rivalry, LeBron always posts on Instagram, he says, iron sharpens iron. Where was the iron sharpening iron with Michael Jordan when he was winning all of his championships? I understand that 6-0
Pistons.
is something that is
Pistons.
perfect. You really can't debate it. But what you can do is say, all right, it was a beautiful thing. We're going to leave it in the past because there is greatness in front of our eyes, and it's LeBron James and it's Stephen Curry. And then we get into LeBron versus Steph, and I'm going to sit here and say, Steph Curry, if he wins a 5th championship, which he will, which is why I'm saying Steph's the GOAT, if he wins that 5th title, he is the greatest of all time.
Okay. Do you realize that Steph Curry
Sorry, man, it's
and
off.
company had a 3-1 lead on LeBron without there's no Kevin Durant involved here, right? It's just Steph. So it's I think you would agree that was Steph's team, right?
It was a
there's
tough
Clay and there's
performance.
Draymond, and we get all that, but it's Steph Curry or bust to me.
Game 5.
Because okay,
Draymond Green.
You've got he's gone. So you don't
Why?
have
Because
okay,
LeBron
but
made him gone.
If Steph is the GOAT, he's got 2 out of 3 at home to close the deal. All he's got to do is win 1 of 3, and 2 out of the 3 are at Oracle, and he can't pull it off because he's not that guy. He's not the GOAT. And
Yeah.
what happened in
Get
Game
him off
7
the
at
stand,
Oracle?
bro.
Remember LeBron's chase down block? Remember this?
Yep,
And
my heart
Kyrie hits
sank. Understand.
the game-winning shot. In the 4th quarter of that game, Steph Curry went 1 of 6, and he went 1 of 4 from 3. Well, I'm sorry, 1 of 5 from 3, and he had a terrible turnover with 2 minutes left where he tried to throw it behind his back and threw it in the 5th row, and it was a key turning point in that game. And without Steph disappearing in the 4th quarter, LeBron and Kyrie cannot do what they ended up doing. And after they blew the 3-1 lead, what happened on July the 4th that summer? Steph Curry led a contingent in a private plane, and they fly all the way across the country out to the tip of Long Island to visit Kevin Durant. And Steph Curry got down on one knee and said, "You've got to come save us. You, Kevin Durant, have to come save us because we can't beat LeBron James without you."
I understand.
Okay,
I understand that.
So you're disqualified.
Yeah,
as
get
the
him
GOAT,
outta
but You
here,
have to go
bro.
beg
You're
somebody
not
to come save
disqualified
you.
because LeBron James, everyone
Okay.
here is talking about LeBron as the GOAT, and he did a very similar thing. When you
With
look
what?
at Steph Curry and his greatness, I get that he choked in that moment.
did
The
not.
3-1 lead, you're never going to be able to beat that. But
What?
what he did in 22 against the Celtics and what he's doing now, you love Tom Brady. His best years are ahead of him, and I'm predicting that right
Really?
now.
Okay.
Yes, 1,000%.
Well,
I think
Oh,
the next
no.
5 years of Stephen Curry are going to be his best 5 years.
Oh
we
no.
don't know
oh,
that.
No.
I'll bet against
oh,
that.
no.
He's 37 years of age.
Understand?
Oh no.
Way to go. Good job.
Yeah, get him off, bro. What?
What's up, Skip?
How are you,
doing,
sir?
my man? Good to see you.
Dodger fan.
Right now, I gotta school you on this. LeBron is the GOAT. He is the GOAT. I know MJ is 6-0. We're kind of just like mystified with that. But LeBron's longevity for 22 years, the work that he's done since 03.
Okay.
And he's been in the shadow of MJ for 22 years. He hasn't been, MJ, who did he look up to? He was with Magic, Magic, that smiling face. Love Magic, but he wasn't as intimidating as being in Jordan's shadow for
Agreed.
22 years of
Okay.
his career.
All right.
I know the 4 and 6 in the finals, but man, 10 NBA Finals appearances. And just one more thing. I know we've talked about this. 2021, finals. The finals was the Nets versus the Bucks. 2018, it was Rockets Warriors. Jordan had to deal with that in the East. Oh, he wasn't pushed to a Game 7. He got pushed to a Game 7 in the Eastern Conference semifinals in '92. He got pushed to the Game 7 in '98 in the Eastern Conference Finals. He's been pushed before. He still triumphs. Jordan, that 6-0. We're always going to be mystified from that. All around.
Okay.
Bro, sound out of
I'm
breath.
going to give you your first point. LeBron James is the longevity king. I mean, it's unquestioned. He is the most durable superstar ever. I'm watching a game the other night, and he hooks his thumb on the rim and pulls it, and I thought, oh, God, because that's your shooting hand. And I thought, man, are you gone? Nope. They go tape it up, and he goes right back in. Incredible, blessed durability. That's how you play 22 years at age 40. LeBron has now played in the regular season 60,000 minutes to Jordan's 40,000 minutes. So it's an apple and an orange almost. And if we go total, it's 71,000. If I add the playoff minutes in, 71,000 to 48,000. Aha, that's 23,000. That's a magic number that LeBron tried to steal from Jordan, and he shouldn't have. Because LeBron wished a lot of this on himself. He right away declared himself, I got next. I'm the next Jordan.
How many times during LeBron's 22 illustrious career, how many times did he take a break? I know Jordan's done that a few times.
He got one break before they won their
last.
last championship in the bubble, the Mickey Mouse Championship, as I
got a-
call it.
he
He
got a
got
break.
one. He got like a 4-month break ahead of that, and it served him well because I
Not
don't
18
think he's
months,
going to
he
win
didn't play
another
minor
chip.
league. He didn't go in the minor
No.
leagues. He didn't go try to go be an
No.
owner of the league. He's gone 22 straight years
He has
playing in the NBA.
longevity
So
king.
many
That
playoff
doesn't make
wins.
you the GOAT. That makes you the
10
longevity
NBA
king.
Finals appearances.
Okay.
MJ couldn't get to 10. He couldn't get past the Pistons, just like LeBron couldn't
I mean,
get past
he
the
did
Warriors.
get past the Pistons finally.
After
And
3
there
years.
was a book written about it called The Jordan Rules,
was
in
a
which
butt-whooping.
it detailed the rules with which the Detroit Pistons, the bad boys, had to stop Michael Jordan.
And thankfully
they
he
were
got
scared
Scotty.
to death of him.
Thankfully he got Scotty during that time
Yep.
because and he also had a head coach, Phil Jackson, during that time. Once they
did?
figured that out. But who did LeBron have as a head coach during that time? Mike Brown. Mike Brown is no Phil Jackson.
Nope, I'll
He
give
had
you that.
Antoine Jameson. He had Ilgauskas. That's why he
Yep.
had to go to Miami. He had to go over there
He
and
did.
team up. He learned how to win. And when
Eric Spoelstra is a real live coach.
Oh,
But
yeah.
like I would bank on Eric Spoelstra. And remember, Pat Riley was coaching the coach in that situation. So that was optimum. That was ideal. And LeBron needed a big brother to teach him how to win. And Dwayne Wade was that guy. Okay? All right. Good job.
You're the man.
Way to go. Thank you.
I think my biggest gripe with your argument is the word laughably. I think your top 10 NBA players of all time is well documented. You've got people like Larry Bird in there.
I do.
You've got Shaq in there.
I do.
Did you know those two guys, within the last 3 to 5 years, have deferred to LeBron and called LeBron the GOAT?
I'm not sure
You have
Larry Bird has, but
Sure
Shaq
has.
on TV will say
verbatim,
that.
verbatim, Larry Bird said, LeBron is one of, if not the greatest ever. You
Okay.
have him at, I think, at number 7.
I do. 9, actually.
9.
Just real quick, I got obviously Jordan, Magic, Shaq, Kareem, Tim Duncan, Bill Russell, Kobe 7, Bird 8, and LeBron 9.
Oh my
Because I'm
God.
taking Kobe and Larry Bird
Oh
as clutch
my
players.
God.
LeBron James every day and every night.
Wow.
So if you look this up, Shaq also said that LeBron is the greatest ever. So with that being said, if Shaq is deferred to LeBron and said he's the greatest ever, that would at least make him 3. He deferred to that. He gave him 3. So the word laughably is really crazy to me, because also you've called LeBron weak. You called him soft,
Mentally weak,
mentally
yep.
weak, mentally soft. It takes a lot of mental fortitude to play in the NBA for 22 years. It takes a lot of mental fortitude to be, called the king at age 13, 14, and live up to all those expectations.
The chosen
without
one.
a hiccup off the court.
All right.
Without being, without
That's what they
being
call
in the
it,
news
bro.
for a negative reason. It takes a
I'll
lot
give
of
you
mental
that.
fortitude to do that.
I give you all that, but we're just talking about your performance on the court.
Sure. But yeah, he's the greatest. He has the
and
most points ever.
This is what really kills me about what I call you LeBron supporters. You're fanatic about it. You're blind witness because you're blind to what happens. You expunge his record. You scrub his record. You don't want to hear all the negatives, and they just pile up. I call them epic fails, and I've given a couple so far, and I'm going to give a few more. If we can go back to that fateful Game 6 of the 2013 finals, I don't know if it's before your time, but I'm sure you were watching. It's at Miami, and the Spurs have a chance to close it out in 6 games, and they're up 5 points with 18 seconds left. And I was a Spurs fan at this point, and it was unheard of to blow a lead, especially in a game of that magnitude that way. Down the stretch of that game, even in the final minute, with 40 seconds left and 20 seconds left, this is Game 6 closeout potential. LeBron had 2 unforced error turnovers that were horrendous. Even I'm not a LeBron fan, but I sat back and I said, what are you doing, man? He's unraveling. He made 1 3, but then he had to take a 3 to tie the game with 6 seconds left. And he, as I say, LeBricked it.
Which would be a clutch shot.
Okay, it would be, but he
Also,
LeBricked it. He bounded it. It
One
hit
thing
hard
about
off
the
bat.
epic failures.
Yeah.
Would you call Jordan getting swept in the first round 3 times an epic failure?
Nope, because they weren't
What?
epic, because they weren't magnitude games, because these are in the finals. I'm going to the finals. So
That's an epic failure,
it took
bro.
Ray Allen making the greatest clutch shot I have ever witnessed. Because remember, it's a LeBrick, and it's a long rebound out, and it's Chris Bosh goes out and tracks it down and kicks
To
it in
call
the
someone
corner.
LeBrick while having the most points ever is wild. Now, I know
Okay.
you're a Jordan guy.
Yeah.
It pained me to say that Jordan's been swept 3 times in the first round
Okay.
because I'm a Jordan guy too. But to laughably say that LeBron
Okay.
and Jordan aren't even in the same conversation, that's wild. It's a
Okay.
discredit to
Okay,
basketball.
I know you watched
it's
this.
insane.
How about the Western Conference Finals just 2 years ago against
Yeah.
Denver, okay? So the Lakers wind up getting swept, but 4 straight times they go to the fourth quarter right there. It's a winnable game for LeBron and company. First 2 are in Denver, second 2 at home. If you combine his shooting stats for the 4 fourth quarters, he's 7 of 23. That's horrible. That's how you lose games. And he was 1 of 10 from 3 in those 4 combined fourth quarters. And in the closeout game at, as I call it, the Crypt here in Los Angeles, in the final seconds of the game, LeBron gets 2 shots to tie the game, 2 two-point shots, and neither of them he gets up to the rim. And I'm like, what are you doing, man? You're better than that. And yet the blind witnesses say, oh, we didn't see that. We don't want to hear about that. So we fast forward 1 more year because last year in the playoffs, they get Denver again, but this time it's in the first round. And games 1 and 2 at Denver, LeBron pouts in the fourth quarter because he can be a mentally weak diva, and he won't shoot in the fourth quarter of a winnable game. I'm going, what are you doing, man? Just take over. You can do this. You can rise above Joker and Jamal. Because you think he's the GOAT. The GOAT rises above because the game is begging to be won by LeBron James. And he won't shoot until there are 3 minutes left and the game's out of control. Game 2. He's got Jamal on him, and he makes a sweet move. It's Jordan-esque on Brian Russell in Game 6 at Utah. And we've got LeBron James. This is Game 2 just last year in the playoffs at Denver. It's going to change the series. He gets a wide-open shot from 3. It's like a free throw from 3. And he LeBricks it. And I'm like, what are you doing, man? Because Kobe's going to make that shot. Jordan's obviously going to make that shot. I think Shaq could have made that shot. It was so easy. Seriously.
So what do you have to say about Shaq deferring to LeBron? He said it.
PR.
He said it.
It's
Why would he
PR.
say that though?
'Cause he's a
Why
nice guy.
does a killer say that?
Ooh, I got it.
You've been chomping to get up here.
Yeah, I've been ready for this. All right, but first I gotta say this. It could be SGA, it could be SDA, you can call it CIA. Lakers in 5. Okay? Just gotta get out the way. All right.
Okay. Lakers in 5 to do what?
To win the finals, win everything.
To win this year's finals?
Your friend, Shannon Sharp. Yeah. But anyways, let's get back to the prompt. Okay. I like facts. Facts, numbers.
So do I.
That's something you can't lie about.
Okay.
Facts. Okay. I like to say that LeBron is the greatest player of all time because of several reasons. He's the only player to be in the 30-point club, 10K club 10K club for assists and rebounds. He's the only player to be positioned in as a point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center at the same time. Okay, you have to debate that Michael Jordan or LeBron James is the GOAT in longevity. He's the GOAT just entirely because of what he's able to accomplish. What he's doing at age 40, he's breaking people's ankles. He's dunking on people at age 40.
I agree with you. I've never seen anything like this guy at 40.
And he's averaging as much points as he did in 2013 as the MVP. He averaged 27, 7 and 7. He's averaging 25, 8 and 8 as a 40-year-old.
He's actually shooting the ball better than he has in 22 years, both from the free throw line and the three-point line combined. His shooting stats are the best ever. They don't rank highly this year in the NBA, but again, he's all the way up to 77% from the free throw line and 38% from the three-point line. What took him so long? I'm like, what have you been doing? I thought you were in the lab.
He's getting better at 40, bro.
Took you this long
He's getting
to become
better.
an average free throw shooter, an average. Okay.
What he's doing at 22?
Facts.
Yeah, I'm doing stats and facts. You can take the last, say 5 40-year-old players that played in the NBA that played at least 40 games. All right, you can take Manu Ginobili, Dirk Nowitzki, Vince Carter, Jason Terry.
Got me.
You can take all their retired numbers, put them together, and they won't average what LeBron's averaging right now.
Does that make him the GOAT? Longevity GOAT?
Well, it's part of it. I think it's a part of it. And you went to the fact that Jordan is the most clutch player ever. LeBron is actually more clutch than Jordan was. There's a website called Fadeaway World. You can look it up. The criteria for clutch is anything in the last minute.
That's not what my stats say or scream.
Well, I'm telling you what I found.
Okay.
So I found that they said that clutch means in the last minute of a fourth quarter or overtime game with at least 20 field goals attempted. LeBron James is 4th overall, hitting 54 shots. Jordan is 27th, hitting 9 of the shots out of 31.
All right, let me just remind you. When Jordan made clutch shots, they really, really mattered.
Oh, my
God. They endured. They were historic clutch shots because he first introduced himself as a freshman at North Carolina in the 1982 the NCAA championship game. He makes the walk-off shot, a jump shot, and Dean Smith called his number, not James Worthy's number, not Sam Perkins' number. He called Michael Jordan's number as a freshman. He was called Mike Jordan at that point. And then, remember, he introduced himself to the NBA world against Craig Elo in Cleveland, Game 5. This is the closeout game. This is for all the marbles, and he hits a hanging walk-off shot jumper over Craig Elo, and it became iconic. We all see it. You can just call it up on YouTube right now and look at the highlight and look at his celebration. It won the series, okay, his first playoff series. And then, obviously, I was there on press row, courtside, Game 6 at Utah. Little subtle push-off Brian Russell against the Jazz, and he hangs and holds the pose just beyond the free throw line and rips it, and it's a walk-off. Stockton got some heave at the buzzer, but it was a walk-off. It won the championship. It won Game 6. It closed them out. All of his shots had magnitude. Jordan, but then I look at LeBron, and all of his walk-offs, and I'm giving him that little tip in the other day. Okay, let's call it 7 walk-off shots. They didn't matter. They didn't get you anywhere. There are 3 in the playoffs, and they're pretty good. But what do they say about the blind squirrel? He finds an acorn every once in a while. If you're going to play 71,000 minutes, you're going to hit a few walk-offs here and there when you play that much longer than Michael Jordan did.
Okay.
Way to go.
Pleasure.
Good job. Thank you. Everybody did great. Thank you. My next claim is Patrick Mahomes is dramatically overrated.
What? What?
Oh, sorry, boys.
How? I don't even know how he could argue this. I'm interested now.
Where this is going.
Where's this going?
Alrighty, Skip. So in order for someone to be overrated, they cannot be overrated in a vacuum. That doesn't exist. You have to be overrated compared to a standard or compared to a player. Give me 30 seconds and give me how he's overrated with those parameters, because I can't go off just that.
I only need 2 seconds.
Okay.
Tom Brady.
Okay. So the same.
Period.
So
Boom.
the same guy.
Over.
So the same guy in the 2010 wild card at home in Gillette, the house Brady built, got blown out by Joe Flacco, 33-14. He threw for, in Skip's terms, a grand total of 152 yards and 3 interceptions, and got punked by Joe Flacco. That guy.
No, the guy who went to 10 Super Bowls and won 7.
got outplayed by Eli Manning twice.
And Bill Belichick
Twice.
cost him 2 Super
He
Bowls.
also won him 3.
Okay.
Tom Brady has never won a Super Bowl without a top 10 defense. Ever.
Okay.
Period. End of conversation. Pro Football Reference. Look it up.
Okay. So, but this is about Patrick Mahomes, and I think you're ducking and dodging the issue.
What are you talking about?
You got to
Yeah,
defend
you brought
his
up Brady.
Super Bowl
If you want me to say, okay,
because
Super
I don't
Bowl
think you
performances,
can.
how can you bomb a wild card game at home in Gillette
Okay.
and then say, oh, you made the most important game of the year and didn't play your best? This is bizarre to me. It will
Time out.
never make sense. No,
You know
real fast. Let me
Arrowhead,
make this
right?
real fast. Greatest stadium in the world, 142.2 decibels, baby.
Do you remember
This
the
is
2018 AFC Championship game
where
at
Patrick never touched
Arrowhead?
the ball, and the
Okay.
Chiefs wanted the rules changed. They didn't do it, but they did it for the Buffalo Bills.
Do you remember what Tom Brady did in your house?
Did
3 times in a row. He
That's
faced
in-
third
you're
and
right.
10. 3 third and 10s in
You're
a
right.
row.
You're right. He
And he
did.
goes Edelman, Gronk.
Okay.
Ball game.
The same way Patrick Mahomes in Super Bowl 58, down 3 points in overtime, 2 fourth downs, a second and 14, because Marquez Valdez-Scantling forgot which way the end zone was and ran backwards, and he
did.
converted and
I'll give you
converted
that.
and converted, and he hit who in the end zone? McCole Hardman for a touchdown
He did.
back to back. Now let
I'll
me
give
ask you
that.
this. Let
In
me
fact,
ask you
that
this.
was his
Let me-
one and
let
only
me-
great Super
It was
Bowl.
unbelievable.
Only.
Also about this, since 2001, there has been 125 NFL playoff drives where the score was 7 points or less in the fourth quarter or in overtime. The rate of success of that is 40%.
Okay.
Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr., as you
That's
like to
my
put
guy.
it,
Yep.
went 5 for 11 in that situation, which is 46%. That's pretty dang good.
I'd
That's
say.
not bad. Okay. Patrick Mahomes went 7 for 7. What do you think of that one, Skip? Tell me.
good.
Come on, buddy.
Okay,
Shout out Shannon Sharp.
let's get to the facts here.
Okay.
Let's get to his
All-time
first Super
clutch.
Bowl against Jimmy Garoppolo. Really? Okay. You guys are down 20-10 late third quarter, and he throws a horrendous interception. Where I'm saying, what are you doing, man? Then early fourth quarter, you're still down 20-10, and he throws an even worse interception.
He did.
And you're sitting somewhere, I guess, at home, and you're saying, Patrick, what are you doing? We're dead. And all of a sudden, it gets to be third and forever. Do you remember? It's third and 15 at the
fair catch to
35.
Tyree.
And all of a sudden, Patrick Mahomes drops back, and there's a rusher in his face, and he basically goes like this. Like, let me just throw it as far as I can.
was on the money, dude.
He
Come
throws
on.
a punt that Tyreek had to come back and wave for a fair catch. That's how bad it was. Okay, and that saved the game, and yet Jimmy Garoppolo in the fourth quarter goes 3 for 11 with an interception for 36 total yards, and he missed Emmanuel Sanders, or we're having a different conversation. That's how you survived the first Super Bowl. The second Super Bowl is against Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr.
He had no
right?
offensive line.
Okay,
Literally,
no offense. I keep hearing that,
5
but
of us could have been out there.
but it was 31-9. Tom Brady never lost a Super Bowl with a blowout loss.
Patrick Mahomes broke the
31-9.
NFL record for rushing yards behind the line of scrimmage in that game.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I keep hearing, but I think he was just bad in that game.
He was not his
okay?
best game.
No
100%, I
touchdowns,
give
2
that to you.
interceptions.
Just like that 2010
okay,
wild card
then
game in July.
against the first Eagles Super Bowl against Jalen. Jalen throws for 304 to Patrick's 182. He only threw for 182 yards. And the Eagles are driving to make it 21-7. And Jalen Hurts, late second quarter, just loses the handle on the football. And I'm like, what are you doing, man? And it bounces one time to Nick Bolton, who scoops it and scores with it, takes it to the house, and it changes the game because it saved you from 21-7 down. And the Patrick, in the fourth quarter, Kadarius Toney returns that punt. Do you remember that 65 yards?
I do.
Okay. I didn't think Patrick played all that well in that game. Jalen outplayed him.
No, he did not. That's absurd.
Well,
That is
304 to
completely absurd.
182 in yards
Patrick
passing.
Mahomes was all-time great in the second. He played a perfect second half.
All right, and then
could not have been better.
I gave you the one at Las Vegas. That was tremendous because every once in a while, Patrick Mahomes can be really good, and he was really good.
Every once in a while.
Just recently, we had to watch 40-22 Eagles, and Patrick Mahomes had a QBR in that game of 11.
There is
That's
no
0 to 100. He had an
There is
11.
no roster from
What?
the AFC that would have hung
11?
it down. Would not have. That is the best single season roster. Shout out Eagles. Best single season roster I've ever seen. Where were they not great? Jalen Hurts is a top 7 quarterback. Top 7 quarterback. You could say he was the worst starter on their team. That team rolled everyone. They lost one game after week 4 to the Commanders in a really funny, what's kind of going on, Jalen gets hurt
That's why
type
I picked
situation.
the Eagles to win it all in August.
You also
okay?
picked the Ravens.
Okay, I did. Okay, but But again, the Eagles won it all. Didn't they?
They did.
Yeah.
They were the best team
Okay.
last year, but Patrick Mahomes is the best player.
Okay.
And that's a fact.
Okay, but let's look at the last 3 years, can we? Because very quietly, under the radar, with no real criticism at all, Patrick Mahomes' passing yards have dropped for 3 straight years. His touchdown passes have dropped for 3 straight years, and he's still only 29.
So-
it's not like he's at the end of his career. So he led the NFL in QBR in 2022, and then in 23 he drops to 8th, and last year he was 8th. So he's become just a pretty good quarterback.
That's a plus. Truly, truly impressive.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet
Nice
you.
to meet you, sir. Wait, I like that picture. You
Yeah,
got
so
there.
I think I bring some credibility here.
Yep.
Tom, your guy, my guy, our guy, Tom Brady.
Our guy.
I think Tom is a really good frame for evaluating Mahomes and being overrated. Yes, Brady has 7 Super Bowls. Mahomes can't be penalized for not living that long yet. So in 7 years as a starter, 3 Super Bowl wins, 2 MVPs. He has 7,000 more passing yards than Tom Brady, more interceptions, more touchdowns, fewer interceptions. And I think what you always come back to is that Brady always came through in the big moments, and Mahomes shrinks. And I can tell you, Mahomes has risen in big moments, and Brady has shrunk. Mahomes and Brady are the only 2 people on history of planet Earth to lead a game-winning touchdown drive in overtime in the Super Bowl. Mahomes led game-winning drives in the other 2 Super Bowls to win the game. Brady did not do that against the Eagles in 2017. He did not do that in 2012 versus the Giants. That all pains me. So I think they're very close. In fact, I would even say they're in lockstep through their first 7 years.
Quick point of order, though.
Yes.
Our guy, Tom Brady,
Yeah.
in New England, under Belichick, they win 6 Super Bowls with 6 game-winning drives in fourth quarter or overtime from Tom Brady. So
Yep.
you got to give him that, because that's extraordinary.
Yep.
That kind of slams the door on the debate.
I don't think it's
Okay.
fair to say Mahomes hasn't yet won 6 Super Bowls.
Okay.
So we have to count.
And I
3.
do
Yeah.
point this out.
Yeah.
In the first Eli Super Bowl, Brady did what he's always done. He drove the Patriots
Yeah.
all the way down, hits Randy Moss for the touchdown with 2 minutes left.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, it's 14-10 Patriots. So wait a second. Eli needs not just a field goal, he needs to go score a touchdown. He goes 83 yards
Yep.
in 12 plays
Yep.
against the vaunted Belichick defense,
Yep.
and it took the David Tyree face
Asante
mask catch,
Samuel.
and,
Yep.
and he
Yep.
jumps a little too early
Yep.
and comes down a little too early and can't hang on to an interception.
The key thing
I
you're
give
saying
you
there,
that. Yeah.
14 points in the Super
Okay.
Bowl.
All right.
Tom put up
but
14
again,
points in the Super Bowl.
that defense was hellacious good, and they
Sure.
knew they were good. That front
But
four
why
was,
when the Bucks defense is hellacious good and the Eagles defense is hellacious
Okay.
good, Mahomes is a bum?
Okay, but didn't Brady do what he should have done to beat that hellacious defense? Isn't it 14-10 Brady at that point? Shouldn't Belichick be able to stop Eli freaking Manning?
Should've.
Right?
Should've.
When you got 83 yards of turf
Yep.
in your favor, you just got to shut him down. Somewhere, somehow, you got to stop him.
It is
because
tough.
he
It is
can't
tough when
kick a
you're-
field goal.
It is
He's-
tough
he's-
when the refs don't call the 5 holding penalties on the helmet catch. And when Asante
ridiculous.
Samuel, your shutdown
Okay.
corner, drops the easy
Okay.
interception.
All right. And then the other one for Tom Brady that just slays me, I have nightmares about, I wake up in a cold sweat over it, is that Belichick's defense allowed the backup quarterback of the Eagles, Nick Foles,
Yeah.
to score 40 points
Yep.
because Malcolm Butler mysteriously is benched for the entire game.
That was the
guy
beginning
who
for
played the
Belichick.
most snaps
Yep.
on your defense in the
Yep.
regular season is benched
That was the
for the
beginning
whole
for Belichick.
game. Why?
Yep.
Nobody says why.
Yep.
I still, to this day, I'll go to my grave not knowing why Malcolm Butler was benched in that game.
Nobody knows why.
And yet,
Yeah.
you said, well, Brady didn't end the game with the game-winning drive.
Yep.
Remember,
choked.
He threw a Hail Mary, a beautiful Hail Mary to Gronk in the end zone, and they tackle Gronk. Like seven guys tackle
We're
him.
relying on a Hail Mary
Okay.
here. What
Okay.
about the Brandon Graham drive, that one before, where he did not deliver?
Okay,
He did
well,
not come through.
It was a great play by
Yeah.
Brandon Graham.
Yeah,
And he got
okay.
sacked. He got rocked.
Okay. But what about, and then Mahomes, again, 3 Super Bowl wins, 3 game-winning
So
drives.
are
at the
you
end of the game.
saying that Patrick Mahomes is better than your guy,
I'm
Tom
saying,
Brady?
This pains me. This is our guy. I'm saying first 7 years as a starter, they are step for step in fact, Mahomes
That's
is
very
superior
true.
statistically,
Okay,
accolades,
quick stat.
That's very true.
tied on Super Bowls.
Over the last 2 regular seasons, Patrick Mahomes' 25 interceptions
Yep.
thrown is second only to Baker Mayfield's 26.
Yep.
So all of a sudden, he's trying to live up to the hype.
Yep.
He's trying to do too many things. He's holding the ball too long. And it's not working the way it worked for the first 4 years over the last 3 seasons during the regular season.
I mean, All right.
Good job.
Hope I
Way
get
to
another
go.
shot.
All right. Sit down. How are you?
I'm doing well, Skip. So I really have to fight you here.
Okay.
First off, you're going to say he's way overrated, and you're comparing him about maybe arguably the best quarterback to ever play the game.
Well, not
And that's
arguably. I mean,
well, hold
just
on.
is.
Well, I mean, we could talk about that too, but that's not the argument we're going to talk about here because there's a guy named Joe Montana that played this game too. But ultimately, you're comparing him against the second, like I said, the second best quarterback to ever possibly play the game. This guy's been to 8 AFC championships in a row. The guy has done, I watched both those Super Bowls. I watched him lose the last one. I was real happy about that. I also watched him come back out in the second half and tear the Eagles defense apart. Now, you could argue that our defensive coordinator was ready to stay in Arizona and not finish out the game. But he's still, I don't care how many drugs you had to put in him, what he had to do to repair that ankle. He was the one single-handedly that kind of won that game. You know, I could say that he was the one that called the defensive holding because he was the one that was crying about and he got the call. But really, the play before that was when he ran for 35 yards to be able to get down the field. That play was really what cemented that game. And I knew at that point that we weren't going to be able to win because he was going to be able to actually just finish out the clock.
Can you explain what happened to Jalen just losing the handle on the football when you're driving to go up 21-7? You're already at midfield.
So I can't argue about that. All I can say is that, hey, everybody else said that the field was a little slippery. I wasn't playing on it. You know, if you slip a little bit and it slips out of your hands, say things happen. And there are bounces that happen in football all the time.
Okay.
So ultimately, I can't argue about that. But we were still up at halftime. We still came back in. We had the opportunity to go ahead and keep running, and we didn't have that. We didn't do it. We didn't finish the job.
Did Patrick Mahomes return that punt in the fourth quarter?
No, he didn't return that punt. Yeah, but ultimately, you know what he did though? He did the game-winning drive to win the game, right? So, and he's done that a lot. You know, and when you're comparing against other quarterbacks right now, I say right now in the NFL as it sits today, I can't name another quarterback who's better than him.
Okay.
And if you're going to use that, like using that doesn't tell me overrated. That tells me that he's a great quarterback. And the fact that you're going to just call him overrated just because Brady played it a lot longer time ago, I would love to have seen. Yeah, like I said, that one Super Bowl that he played, that Brady played against him, he was still recovering from the head. And like I said, and he was throwing balls. He was throwing balls. He was throwing balls to his receivers, hitting them in the helmets and stuff like that, and they weren't catching the ball. There was a lot of things. It was 31-9, but there was two touchdowns. What was that one defense? The call, they called the flag on it because of what's his face that was.
To your point about all those AFC championship games, you realize that he lucked into playing into the worst division in football over his 7 years. Because if I look at the Raiders over those 7 years, they have the 6th worst record. The Broncos.
Oh my God, we can talk about this. I mean, let's talk about the what was that pass against Oakland? We won't go back to that far either with Brady and he shouldn't have even won that game.
The Tuck rule,
yeah, the Tuck rule. Oh,
I'll give you that.
But I mean, ultimately, Patrick Mahomes is a 5-star quarterback. He's probably the best quarterback in this league right now. And I will go as far as to say is that he won that first Super Bowl for Kansas City because I know Andy Reid still trying to figure out what play to call, and he took over the offense 100%, started to call the plays, and actually was the one that drove the team down. They didn't use Andy's plays. He was the one calling the plays in that last few minutes.
Is Patrick Mahomes the best quarterback right now? I'll take Joe Burrow over Patrick Mahomes.
Now listen, I love Joe Burrow when he's healthy. When he's great. The problem is that he's in part of an organization that doesn't like to play defense, so he's never going to win like that. I watched Joe Burrow's first game against the Eagles where he got sacked 8 times and was able to get up all that time.
Did Joe Burrow not beat Patrick Mahomes in an AFC championship game at Arrowhead? He did do that.
But
he almost beat him twice.
He did do that one time. He did do that one time. But he also hasn't been able to get back there, has he? So Joe Burrow hasn't been that great so that he's been able to get his team beyond everything else.
Way to go. Good job.
Woo. What's up, Skip? It's a pleasure, man.
You're up.
Okay. You're talking about everybody else. You're saying all these different things. We got to talk about what overrated is, what that means. You can break it down. Let's talk a little bit literally. You want to talk about his actual rating? Last year, PFF has got him at 8. Players got him at number 4. you're going to sit here and you're going to tell me that that is not an accurate place for that man to be? If he should be lower, should be higher.
No, but most people think he's already better than Brady. A lot of people believe that.
Okay,
No,
but
he's not
Brady
better
is
than
not even in this
Brady.
conversation. This conversation is not Brady versus Mahomes. The conversation is Mahomes overrated? If you want to talk about value, you want to talk about overrated in value, monetary value. Patrick Mahomes, the $500 million man, has been to the Super Bowl 5 times and won a bunch of money. That's good return on investment. What was Allen's contract extension that he just got?
Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the
Significant.
most.
Yeah. When's the last time he went to the Super Bowl?
Okay.
Never.
On the calm on that one.
Never.
They are,
But,
yeah.
but he's shown you a lot, and he was the MVP.
For sure.
And I thought he deserved it.
I agree, 100%. I agree that
Okay.
he deserved it. But he's got insane stats.
Lamar was-
Passing was similar to Mahomes, but nobody can stop Allen's rushing. That is that 100%. But then you go
Saquon,
stats. You want to look at stats. You want to look at his MVP years. What other player in the NFL that is playing right now
he earned
has
it.
had over an entire regular season of
Deserved it.
postseason games? That is an MVP season. You take out last season's postseason.
Okay.
That's
You're going this past season or 2 years ago?
This past
Okay,
postseason
all
where
right.
we lost.
Okay. Oh, you're a we.
I'm a we.
You just declared yourself.
I'm a we. I will
okay.
always be
You're
a we.
Chiefs fan. Okay.
Yes, sir. 100%.
good.
Born and raised
All right.
KC.
Okay.
So he has like 5,200 yards, some like 30 to 40 touchdowns, and 10 INTs.
Okay.
That's less than what Allen has in his INTs are less
Okay.
than what Allen had in
All
his
right, but-
MVP season.
But you realize he's gotten to play 14 home games in the postseason, right?
Yeah.
And
He's earned it.
And if he's played 21
Yeah.
postseason games, so if you take the 5 Super Bowls out, that means only 2 road games in the playoffs, other than the 12.
And
14 at home.
Everybody
14
made such
at home.
everybody made such a big deal that he's
Yeah.
going to Buffalo
Yeah.
on the
And he
road.
won.
What happened?
And he went and beat Lamar on the road. I
He'll
give
play
you that.
anywhere. It doesn't matter,
He
man.
was really good, especially in the first half at Ravens.
100%.
Going back 2 years ago. I give you that. But you're trying to scrub his resume of 31-9 loss to Brady
regress to the
and
mean?
40-22 to the Eagles, in which he had a QBR of 11.
Okay, what about John
And
Elway?
he stunk for about 3.5 quarters of his first Super Bowl.
Okay, if we're bringing in other people, what about John Elway? Is he overrated? Do you think what's your take? Because this man had a 55-10 loss in the Super Bowl.
He did.
Like you're gonna say people take.
I mean, that's not the
L's.
topic here, but yeah.
Neither
Elway's
is Brady
career-
versus Mahomes.
Okay, Elway's career was a little overrated because he couldn't close deals.
But can Mahomes
and
close
they had
deals?
a very good defense.
So can Mahomes not close deals?
Well, he hasn't closed. He had one great Super Bowl with a game-winning drive in overtime at Las Vegas. I give you that one. I've given you that from the start. But I still think Jalen outplayed him twice in Super Bowls because Jalen was better than Mahomes in the first one. And Jalen made one crucial error that cost the Eagles that game.
The fumble.
Okay.
Yeah, totally. But and with everything else, I'm sat here for the whole day with you have been championing the people who win titles. All in the NBA, all you've talked about is the importance of titles.
Yep.
This conversation is going to be just the exact same thing. So how can you say that those titles are important, yet Mahomes' 3 titles, those don't matter,
Okay.
and that's overrated?
Have you already concluded he's better than Tom Brady?
I don't care about Tom Brady. Tom Brady is giving some bland commentary over on Fox or wherever he is
I'll
now.
buy that.
He's out of the game.
Yep.
Tom Brady is the GOAT. I'm not going to say that Mahomes is at that level yet. He's not. He has not
Okay.
played those seasons.
Do you think his regular season performance has dwindled over the last 3 years? It's starting to erode
100%.
slowly but surely.
Who's his receiving core?
Okay, it's always some excuse with it. He's got the greatest play caller I think ever, right?
100%. But
Okay.
if you don't have hands and you have people who make stupid off the field decisions,
Well, he's got the greatest pass catching tight end ever. I know he's on the downside a little bit, but he's
a little
really,
bit.
really
He's older
good.
than Gronk. And Gronk's gone.
Okay.
And he's still getting open in the middle of that field.
Yeah.
And he's still doing what he needs to
Kelsey
do.
separates way better than Gronk ever separated.
100%.
Okay.
Skip.
Okay,
So
good
sorry,
job.
man.
That's great.
Good
That's great.
shit, man.
Good
My
shit,
next
man.
claim is Bill Belichick is overrated. The Patriots dynasty was 80% Tom Brady.
So first, if we're going to call Bill Belichick overrated, we need to look at his entire career as a defensive coordinator before he was even in New England. So if we're going to look at that, he was with the Giants for 10 years.
Great.
They had a top 10 defense every year except for
really
once.
good. Yep.
Granted, he had Lawrence Taylor. I'll give you that. So then he leaves for the Browns after there's 2 Super Bowls that he had where they had top 2 defenses. The Giants went from the best defense in 2 years down to the worst. And the Browns went from dead last all the way to the top 10 within 2 years with Bill Belichick. As my friend here said, Tom Brady's never won a Super Bowl without a top 10 defense. Bill Belichick is not 20%. You can make the argument for 50-50. Brady did some great things. In his 2 best Super Bowl performances, he wasn't able to carry them to the win.
Okay. I give you, Bill Belichick was a really good defensive coordinator under Bill Parcells. He wasn't the leader. He wasn't the CEO.
I agree.
He didn't set the tone in the locker room, but he was really good, and then he became a head coach.
Yes, sir.
And if I look at Bill Belichick's head coaching record without Tom Brady, without Tom Brady, he's 64 and 85. And when he got to New England, before Tom Brady fell out of the heavens into his lap, he went 35 and 47 in New England without Tom Brady.
Okay,
that's
hilarious.
35 and 47. So that's 12 games under 500. And his total head coaching record without Tom Brady is 21 games under 500. Well, that's overrated because once Tom Brady was gone from New England, and they'd won 6 Super Bowls together, 4 seasons elapsed. And did you see what happened? Bill Belichick got exposed.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Okay?
We can talk about Tampa Bay. Tom Brady in Tampa Bay.
Okay, but think about this.
Top 5 defense. His first year he got there. Jameis Winston could have won that Super Bowl that year.
He made a smart choice, didn't he? Because I didn't see that coming. Tom Brady's going to Tampa Bay, but he knew that the cupboard was not bare in Tampa Bay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, that's just being a wizard. To me, that's being a genius.
Brady didn't carry them there.
Okay, so 4 seasons without Brady after he's gone to New England. Bill Belichick's still the head coach. They had the 7th worst record in the National Football
League.
League.
Mac Jones, a Pro Bowler.
33 and 50. He picked him. Right?
Yeah.
He picked him.
He played
33
as a Pro Bowler
and 51.
Plays a Pro Bowler.
So you can see that Belichick was nothing without Brady.
That's not true at all.
Okay, they played 1 playoff game. Do you remember the playoff game at Buffalo against Josh Allen?
Yes, sir.
And it was 47-7, and it was the immaculate game because the Patriots. That the Bills were never forced to punt. So Bill Belichick's vaunted defense couldn't even make Josh Allen punt
You got to realize
time.
who else left that defense, though. Bill Belichick, if you're naming the Patriots Super Bowl rosters, you can name more stars on their defense than you can on their offense. You will be able to name way more defense. Brandon LaFell's a Super Bowl champion. Where'd he go after the Patriots?
Okay, good job.
Hey, great to meet you.
All right, thank you. Fire away.
So, 2 words in this debate. I heard all your debates, but Matt Castle, he proves that Belichick is a coach without Tom Brady as a head coach.
They went 11-5.
11-5.
Missed the playoffs.
Missed the playoffs because it was a tremendous amount of activity going on in the AFC. So let's leave that out.
Okay, I'll give you
11-5
that.
without Brady, right?
Good point.
So let me go backwards.
All right.
The gentleman brought up when he was the defensive coordinator for the Giants. I'm an Eagles fan. I started loving this game through Randall Cunningham. Best, amazing, like the amount of things that he could do on offense was amazing. Who shut him down? Twice a year, I almost cried because Randall looked like a regular quarterback 70% of the game because Bill Belichick, his planning and tactical ability
But
to
maybe
make
Lawrence Taylor shut him down
yes,
a little bit?
of course, Lawrence Taylor. But one player does not shut that down. Not one player. It was the defensive schemes. It was his adjustments. Now as a head coach, and always, Bill Belichick makes adjustments better than any coach I've ever seen. I don't like the man. I hate him. So I'm not making the argument like Bill Belichick. I'm saying Bill Belichick is the man that can come up with a plan. It doesn't matter who his personnel is. He will come up with a plan to win. Now, of course, Brady has a huge amount to do with it. I don't discount Brady. To me, he's the greatest quarterback ever to do it. But 80-20, Skip, like that's extreme.
No, it's
It's
not.
extreme. Matt Castle shows you it's extreme.
So many ex-Patriots have told me that locker room revolved around Tom Brady because they did not, to your point, they didn't like Bill Belichick. He was a tyrant. He was old school.
But are there not different types of leadership?
Cuss them out. He's
But are
going to
there not different
humiliate them
types?
in film
Of
sessions.
course.
And Tom Brady would always whisper, "It's okay."
Yes, and that's a balancing act. Does that not show? But if you talk to players, and I'm friends with a lot of them that played for him, if you talk to players, will they stand up and do the best they've ever done for him? Yes. Not just out of fear, but out of respect. Why? Because the schemes that he comes up with when they play for his team versus someone else, where they suddenly can't play, shows that he knows how to use player personnel better than any coach in the league. I love Andy Reid, so I'm just saying.
What was the scheme in the Super Bowl against the Philadelphia Eagles with Nick Foles at quarterback?
Where he stole our plays,
I know. Well, Well, is that what happened? Because
So
how did
now-
he score 40 points? How did you guys score 40 points? 41 to 33. That's correct.
Yes,
yeah.
41-33.
Yeah.
So you're totally right. I can't argue my game, right? Like he didn't do the best he could have done against the Eagles. Why? Because it's a team sport. He's not on the field. He only can do his schemes, and he made an amazing run at it. It's not like we blew them out. It was 41-33. It was a very competitive game. I was scared half of it, but I was enjoying the fact that our team, which was a dynamite team in the moment, we sucked the year after. Like we really were a team of the moment. Everyone was firing on all cylinders. When Carson Wentz dropped down, every player stepped up, including Nick Foles, including the safeties, including our not so great linebackers. Everyone played well in that game, including Brandon Graham. So we got to go into, okay, did Brady fell or did Belichick fell in that game? Both of them did.
Okay, but
so
does
when
a
we
great
win,
defensive coordinator give
She
up
sounds like she'd make a
41 to
great
backup
reporter.
quarterback in a
he wasn't,
Super Bowl?
now you're talking about head coach, defensive coordinator,
Okay,
and you made the
but he
argument.
was the
you
coordinator.
but you made the argument that we're focusing on head coach.
Yeah.
And we want to focus on coordinator. You can't bring in head coach and then make that the
but
thing.
that's
He's
his
now-
expertise.
But
That's what
it's
he-
his expertise. But as you know, as a head coach, that's not all he can focus on. Correct? Correct.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you're saying that, that's not even the only thing that
But I
happened.
think that's what he was for the Patriots dynasty. He
Mm-hmm.
was the defensive coordinator, and Brady was the quote-unquote head coach and quarterback.
No.
Brady was the leader of the team. Brady controlled the
No.
locker room. Brady set the tone for that Patriots culture that again, it spilled over everywhere, and Brady started
yes, but
it.
now
It
you're talking
wasn't
about
Belichick.
culture, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about culture. The culture was a balance.
She'd make a great reporter.
Good job. Hey, you're great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, she'd make a great reporter.
Go Cowboys.
Go Cowboys. Why is it upside down on your hat?
It's fashion.
Oh, it's
you know.
fashion. You got me. Touche.
You talked about culture, right? I think Bill Belichick set up the Patriots and built a system where Tom Brady thrived, right? I personally believe if Drew Bledsoe did not get hurt that first year, they would have won the Super Bowl anyway.
You do?
I do. Because I believe at that time, Tom Brady benefited from the system that Bill Belichick built, right? Later on in the career, you can argue he may have pulled more weight or whatever, but I think, Matt Castle proves that Bill Belichick built a system that Tom Brady thrived in.
That I'm not a Drew Bledsoe fan because I think he's got a loser syndrome about he's the guy who's going to make the bad throw. He's going to throw it to the other team when you least needed to have it thrown. And again, they had just gone 5-11 the previous season with Drew Bledsoe at quarterback, and they were 0-2 when Brady took over because Mo Lewis crushed Drew Bledsoe's sternum or whatever it was, and he was gone, right?
Yep.
Okay, so then they take off, and they got a huge break with the tuck rule. Tom Brady changed everything because in the tuck rule game, he was really good. He was really good, and Vinatieri helped close deals because
Yeah,
he's kicking.
that was going to be my next point.
Okay,
right?
he's kicking field goals in the
Tom Brady's
snow
not
in the
kicking
tuck
field
rule
goals,
game.
right? Tom Brady's not making tackles. He only plays offense,
But,
right?
but if you conduct
I don't
six
think-
game-winning drives in all 6 Super Bowls, that's saving your coach. And if you go to the AFC Championship game in 2018 at Arrowhead, and again, it was a coin flip, and you won the coin flip, but that's what Brady does. He wins coin flips, and then he wins games because he was blessed. Okay, good job.
Yeesh, already?
You're back again.
You keep mentioning that Tom Brady threw to Edelman, to Gronk, etc. You also brought up briefly the Tampa Bay stint and that he was a wizard for choosing Tampa Bay.
He was.
He forced Rob Gronkowski to come out of retirement because he knew he couldn't do it without Rob Gronkowski. He made sure he was going to a top 5 defense. He made sure he had Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, etc.
It was a great choice. I didn't see it coming. Did you?
And I did not see it coming. As a Patriots fan, I was upset. But that team, that support staff was arguably the best support staff he's ever had in his career.
What was that team the year before? I'm a little foggy. It was like 5-11 or?
What about, I mean, you mentioned Mac Jones.
Jameis Winston?
You
What-
mentioned
what-
Mac Jones losing in the playoffs. Bill Belichick got to the playoffs with Mac Jones. How many coaches in NFL history can get to the
And
playoffs?
then what happened?
And then what happened? Mac Jones happened. And Josh
47
Allen
to 7.
happened.
Thank you.
Mac
And
Jones
Josh Allen
happened.
Yes. I'm not saying Brady was a system quarterback.
Mac
Brady
Jones
could do
happened.
stuff in
Facts.
the playoffs that most quarterbacks could not do. But he doesn't do it without Bill Belichick. Was 10-3 against the Rams? Was that Brady playing great defense?
Nope, that was good. I'm going to give Belichick that one
And
because that was, again, they got rid of their quarterback because of that game, right?
Brady still had a chance to drive down the field with a lot more time than, for example, Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen have had, and they've completed those drives against a defense that wasn't the best defense. We're not talking about this year's Eagles. We're talking about those year Eagles. That wasn't the best defense, and Brady couldn't do it. The fact that they were even competitive in that game was the system that Bill Belichick has built that till this day, people say the Patriot system is mostly Bill Belichick, what he has built.
Okay, but as a Patriot fan, weren't you outraged that he gave up 41 to Nick Foles?
Absolutely. And it wasn't a perfect game from Bill Belichick, but there have been many more imperfect games from Tom Brady where Bill Belichick and his system have saved him, have bailed him out.
Okay.
Which the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he went to the Buccaneers because he knew there were multiple routes to getting bailed out.
All right, you're a smart guy and a good Patriot fan. I got to hit you with Spygate because I never quite got over the fact that Bill Belichick needed to cheat so badly that he outrageously cheated until Eric Mangini, his former assistant, then the Jets head coach, said, Bill, if you do it, if you tape my signals, I'm going to turn you in. And he turned him in, and they got busted.
Even if you assume one scandal, and even if you take away his accolades from that era, what about after that? Once you are involved in one scandal, you get scrutinized more than anybody else in the league.
Well, then they had a Deflategate scandal, right?
And Deflategate was more Tom Brady, and also it wasn't a real scandal. That was a lack of understanding of science.
I do agree with that because once they inflated the football to the right proportion, remember in the second half against Indy in the AFC Championship game, or no, it was the semifinal, right? Yeah, Brady threw a party in the second half with a properly inflated football, right? Okay.
Yeah. But how many times has Tom Brady gone to the Super Bowl, like it's been mentioned before, gone to the Super Bowl, won a Super Bowl with the top 10 defense? Tom Brady is not playing defense. Bill Belichick built that defense. Bill Belichick built a system where people think that Drake May can immediately become a contender because of the system that Bill Belichick has built that'll last for a long, long time.
So as a Patriot fan, how do you explain what happened after Tom Brady is pushed out the back door and he's got 4 years to prove himself, Bill Belichick going solo, and they're terrible, right? It's 33-51 without Tom Brady. Good job, Omar. Thank you.
Hello again. Focusing on who gets credit for the dynasty. And again, I never thought I'd be in this chair twice arguing against our hero, Tom Brady. But my kind of thesis is that the partnership between Brady and Belichick is the most successful partnership in NFL history, and it's almost impossible to determine credit. It was kind of a 1 + 1 = 3 situation. And where I'm coming from there is Brady, famously not a remarkable prep prospect, had a good, not great college career, actually very similar to like Chad Henne, who came right after him.
I agree.
Famously 199th pick overall. So there was no indication that he was going to be this savior, all-time great quarterback.
Although if you watched him against Alabama in his Orange Bowl game, the last game of his college career, he was really good. Okay, go ahead.
Yep. There was no indication that he was going to be that great quarterback until he came with Bill Belichick. And he sat for a year, learned Bill Belichick. Belichick saw the potential, promoted him to backup.
I give Belichick credit for that,
and then week 2, he comes in for Bledsoe. Week 3, he is good in 2001. He has big moments, but on the whole, he's not great. And even his first 6 years, his closest statistical comps are Matt Ryan and Russell Wilson. Good quarterbacks, not great. Patriots defense for those first 3 Super Bowls, world class. I think 1 year was first overall. It was always top 5.
An MVP and a Super Bowl champ is not a bad comparison
throughout his career, and it became more Brady dominant in the second half. Once you had Gronk and Edelman and Moss and all that, it became more of a Brady dominant offense. So that's why it's kind of impossible to say it's this, it's that. It's more just this marriage that worked out wonderful for everybody, including me.
Okay, but if Brady wins 6 Super Bowls with game-winning drives in the fourth quarter or overtime, and he wins the AFC Championship game with 3 3rd and 10 conversions in overtime, he's saving Belichick from himself because there are times when the defense is not living up to its billing of the regular season, where it's getting torched too many times in playoffs. I give you the early ones, but as Brady took over the team in year 3, 4, and 5, the Patriot way became the Brady way.
Sure.
And I think he never got enough credit for running the locker room and keeping the locker room from rebelling against the tyrant who was Belichick. So Belichick doesn't last that long as the CEO of that team without a Tom Brady as the leader of the team.
So one thing I will concede to you is that Belichick lost his fastball the last, starting in the second Eagles Super Bowl. He kind of lost it. But they bailed each other out time to time. The Malcolm Butler interception, you could say that bailed out Tom Brady. That was a coaching, design, preparation,
Although
execution.
Brady in the fourth quarter against Seattle, he threw for 124 in the fourth quarter. In the fourth, it was 2 touchdown passes,
and
right?
I believe, I'm not sure, but I believe the Seahawks were shut out in the fourth quarter.
Okay.
So
and
this is why
remember,
you can't
Russell
separate
Wilson
the two.
is torching them all the way down the field, and then they get to the fateful moment, and everybody says run beast mode, and they call a pass play, and I didn't have a terrible problem with it because I thought Russell threw a pretty good pass. and
boom,
Malcolm
boom.
Butler just jumps the route and swipes it, and Brady's jumping up and down like a little kid.
And that play was a result of 2 weeks of preparation, game type, studying that specific
For
three
a
wide.
kid undrafted out of West Alabama who'd never played, like he's thrown into the fire late because they benched the other corner, right?
And then let's go to that second Rams Super Bowl. Patriots put up 13 points, 3 points for 3.5 quarters. I think you even said that was a Belichick masterpiece of a game plan.
Yeah.
So it's like I said,
but Brady's
taking
fighting with
turns.
Aaron Donald, and they couldn't block him. And Brady's running for his ducking and dodging. He couldn't run, so he couldn't run for his life if he can't run, right? But he's ducking and dodging for his life. And yet he still had a game-winning drive in the fourth quarter of that Super Bowl, or they might have lost that one.
And let's look at the Falcons Super Bowl too. Brady is awful that first half.
He was.
The pick six.
Threw a pick six.
And he's phenomenal in the second half. Belichick and his defense does their part by shutting the Falcons out, or definitely after the fourth quarter they were shut out. So again, it's this symbiotic relationship.
And Brady threw in the fourth quarter in overtime for 200 and
Phenomenal.
something, 220.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
All right. This was fun. Thank you.
Good job.
Yeah.
For a minute? I guess so.
Ha! I had to come back. I have 1 minute left to be able to do this.
Not you again.
Me again. Me again.
All right.
So I have to start this off. First off, Belichick has won more rings, right? He's got more rings than Tom Brady does, right? And like I said, that one game that he won out in Tampa, after that, what did he do? I don't remember him doing so well. I didn't think he made it to the playoffs. He did beat the Eagles in the playoffs because I was there. But after that, he didn't do much after that because they kind of needed each other. I kind of look at that.
Okay, but against the Rams, he was really good. And then Cooper Kupp, they blew an assignment and let him loose at the end of the game.
Well, but I can't, again, that's on that. But that being said, like I said, we won 41-33 against him, and he had 500 yards. In fact, every time he went for 500 yards, they usually lose those games.
505, and that remains the all-time playoff record. All-time playoff.
Right, and I think that was one of the best Super Bowls, but every time he's thrown for 500 yards, they usually lose those games, right? So Belichick has been that guy who's been able to do with the defenses, because listen, there wasn't a touchdown thrown in the next Super Bowl, right? In Super Bowl 53, but...
Okay, good job. Congratulations. Will came in pretty early and made a very smart and impassioned case for Kobe Bryant, and I appreciated it. So I'm gonna go Will.
I need to go back to the LeBron as the GOAT.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it again.
Okay, for sure. So I wanted to say that the only thing that Michael Jordan has better than LeBron James is better shoes and a better Space Jam movie. Other than that,
We definitely had a better Space Jam movie.
we can agree on that. We can agree on that for sure.
Money.
I want to go back to the beginning of the career, right? LeBron was known as the chosen one. He was drafted at 18, fresh out of prom, expected to save a franchise. What did he walk into? That team was 17-65, worst record in the NBA. They missed the playoffs for 5 straight years. The best players on that team were Ricky Davis and Big Z. I like to call them the LA Fitness 5 because you could take
Shout
me
out
and one of
Ricky
my friends
Davis
at LA
and Big
Fitness,
Z,
and we
man.
would
Shout out to
still
them
be the
guys.
worst team in the league. You know what I mean? And then that team was ranked 29th out of 29th for NBA attendance, which means that neither the fans or the players were showing up.
Okay.
If there was a fish fry going on across the street, Skip, people would go to that fish fry. That's how bad it was. Mind you, only by adding LeBron James, they increased their wins by 18 games that season just by adding one man.
Oh, he's a great player.
Yeah,
he's a force.
Fantastic. But
6'9",
what was Jordan?
260.
Exactly.
Maybe as a rookie, 235. But
exactly. But what was Jordan doing at 18 and 19 years old? Well,
he was winning an NCAA championship for the Carolina Blue.
Yeah, but
right?
he was. I heard you say the chosen one goes to the frozen one, but Michael Jordan didn't even have the opportunity to be the chosen one because he wasn't even chosen first in this draft. He was chosen third.
Which was all-time stupid, right? Was it not?
But I'm
Sam
saying,
Hey.
behind Hakeem
Hakeem
Olajuwon.
even?
and
I'll
Sam
give you
Bowie.
Hakeem, but
Yeah.
I'm taking Jordan over Hakeem.
Exactly.
I'm not
And many
taking Jordan
people
over
would,
Hakeem, man.
having hindsight, but I'm just saying that this is how
Nah,
people
I'm
view
capping,
it.
I'm capping.
Like
Jordan should've been
nobody,
one.
he wasn't even the first option on his team. That was James Worthy. So the way how I look at it is like if
You
go
mean when he was a
In
freshman?
college, in
Except
college.
When you get to
but
the moment, Dean Smith, the great Dean Smith, calls the last play of the game against
For sure.
Georgetown for the kid
He
Mike
loves
Jordan, the
the
freshman.
clutch shot. He
And
loves
nails
that.
it.
But I'm making a comparison, Skip, at that same age, LeBron is expected to take a team out of the poverty franchise and make them into a contender. They were saying it was Hall of Fame or bust. Not I hope he's good, not I hope he's great, but Hall of Fame or bust only option. Michael
Facts.
Jordan, on the other hand, we were grasping at straws. They were just like, well, I hope he's good. I mean, there's two people who we think is better than him in
Okay,
the
how can you
draft.
say LeBron is the GOAT
Yeah.
when he's a career 35% three-point shooter and he's a career 73% free throw shooter?
Right.
Trust me, by superstar standards, that's pathetic in both cases. He's a
agree.
lousy free throw and three-point shooter, and in the three-point shooting, which he's improved dramatically in year 22, he's still high volume. So he's cost his team a lot of regular season moments because he takes way too many threes and he's way below average.
That's
so
true.
it's disqualifying as the GOAT when you're a lousy shooter, because Jordan was an 84% free throw shooter, which is credible to me. It's 10 percentage points higher than LeBron.
But there were things that Jordan could do better as well. Obviously, LeBron is an anomaly, right? He's playing 20-plus years. He's doing things like that. But let's look at the
he
impact.
is one of one as on longevity.
Exactly,
Yes.
right? But I always say you never know what you have until it's gone, right? In 2010, the Cleveland Cavaliers were the best team in the NBA. They were 61-21. They were phenomenal, right? When LeBron ended up leaving that team, what happened to them? They became the worst record in the NBA.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Now, in 1992, right, Jordan, for example, he was playing, he retired after winning that championship and went off. And did the Bulls struggle? Absolutely not.
When he went to play baseball.
Exactly. They only lost 2 more games, which means that they could have done that with or
I
without
mean, they
him.
didn't win the championship, but yeah.
They didn't win the championship, but I'm just saying that if you lose the GOAT, it should reflect losing the
And
GOAT.
by
I'm
the
not
way, Scottie
expecting
Pippen
them.
refused to go back in a game against the Knicks.
I understand.
Okay? All right.
That's internal issues. There was a lot going on, but that does not change the fact that when you lose the best player, it should feel like you lose the best player.
Okay. How do you defend
Facts.
LeBron on what I call his many epic fails?
Yes.
And let's start with his final go-round in Cleveland, the first stint. Against Boston, they're up 2-1, and they lose 4, 5, and 6, and he was pretty pathetic in 4, 5, and 6. Dan Gilbert, his owner, subsequently accused him of quitting. Did anybody ever accuse Michael Jeffrey Jordan of quitting? No, it's laughable, right?
Okay.
So that's the first one. That's an
Yeah.
epic fail.
I give you that.
Then he goes to Miami the next year. They're up 2-1. He goes back to his hotel. According to Stephen A., he makes a list of, I told you so. I'm going to tell him, I told you so, you so, you so. And I was number 1 on that list. Skip Bayless is I told you so, okay?
Right.
And right on schedule, game 4, 5, and 6, chosen one becomes the frozen one. And it was epic. It was like, what just happened to the superstar? Because I've never seen a worse superstar failure on a final stage.
So let me go into this. LeBron James has a lot of failures because he took more risk. At the end of the day, he won championships on 3 different teams. He won championships on the Cleveland Cavaliers, he won a championship on the Miami Heat, and he won a championship with the Los Angeles Lakers, right? On the other end, Michael Jordan won all of those championships in the same city, with the same coach in Phil Jackson, under the same triangle offense. You know what I mean? Everything was the same, with the same running mate in Scottie Pippen.
Yep. He had a Robin.
And
He had one Robin.
Exactly,
Yep.
right? And then you can't even say what Jordan did was sensational. When I think about the greatest, it's something that has never been done before, right?
All right.
At the end of the day, Phil Jackson takes that same triangle offense and almost does the same exact thing with Kobe Bryant.
I got it. I'm going to continue on epic fails. 2013 Game 6. How do you explain what happened to LeBron down the stretch and that Ray Allen saved his bacon with that greatest clutch shot I've ever seen? Did that not happen?
Ray Allen's my favorite player all the time. I can't
there you
argue
go.
with that.
Okay.
Yeah, one of them. Him and Reggie Miller.
The next year against my San Antonio Spurs, they get blown off the court by a record finals margin in 5 games. And go look at what happened, because it's 1-1 going back to Miami. Go look at LeBron's game 3 and 4 at home in Miami. 7 turnovers in the first game. They lose by 19. They lost game 4 by 21 at home. And I'm saying, what's wrong? What's happened?
Right.
It looked like he had shut down. I don't know, but that's an epic fail to me. And then, do you remember what happened?
There's going to be failures when you climb higher mountains, though, Skip.
But Jordan climbed lots of high mountains and never failed.
Well, let me ask you this question. If you replace LeBron James on that 3-1 comeback win with the Warriors, would Michael Jordan get the same result?
Yes, he would. Okay, so?
Skip.
No, he would not.
You can't do... Come on now.
Okay, but that was a lot of Steph's fault too, because Steph, you got to close that deal. Is that what you're talking about? 3 games to 1?
I'm saying exactly. I'm saying that we can't skip over the details in this regard, because at the end of the day, LeBron's biggest problem is he just ran into Steph Curry. That was it. Like, if Steph Curry played in the 80s or 90s, they would have accused him of witchcraft. That's how he was shooting back then.
Okay, well, I buy that, and I give you that. I mean, we never seemed like it, but Steph has come up even smaller than he is in a lot of big moments in finals games. He needed Kevin Durant to save him from LeBron.
But
and
all to stop one man, Skip.
Okay,
that's what I'm saying.
Kevin was the MVP of the next 2 finals, right?
I mean, he called the Avengers to stop one man. You got to think about that.
All right.
He called everybody.
The Avenger, right?
That phone was ringing. Everybody.
Okay. All right.
So, yeah.
But Steph is admitting to you, I can't do it by myself against that guy, right?
Yeah. But the thing that I'm trying to make is, there were systems built around Michael Jordan to make him who he is. They had the triangle offense. They had Phil Jackson. And Phil Jackson almost duplicated the same thing with Kobe. But LeBron James is the system. It doesn't matter what team you put him on. He's going to the finals within 2 to 3 years, and that is statistically proven.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what team he goes to.
I'm going to throw one more epic fail at you. This is the game 1 of
now.
2018. And again, are they overmatched against Golden State? I guess so. But game 1 at Oracle, LeBron had the greatest final shooting night in his history.
Yes.
He is crazy hot.
He's the GOAT.
He's got 40-something. He's the GOAT.
He's the GOAT.
Yeah, he was about to be the GOAT lowercase of this game, as in the reason they lost the game.
New Hobby Hotel Lobby,
the scapegoat.
You already know it.
Okay.
You
What
already
happened
know it.
at the end of that game 1? This could have been a GOAT case that you're making, LeBron James. And at the end of the game, he gets the switch. He gets little Steph on him at 6 feet. What do we give Steph? 2 or 3? I'll give him 3. 6 feet 3.
6'2".
And LeBron, they're down 1. So this is the scary situation for the guy without a clutch gene. Like, uh-oh, I know I got to make this, or we're going to the locker room and we lost.
Right.
And he starts to go up to shoot, and George Hill, who used to be a San Antonio Spur, flashes open, and he says, I got to kick it to George Hill. I never liked George Hill when he was a Spur.
Right.
No clutch gene, no clutch nothing. And he kicks it to him to take the shot of the game, and Clay has to tackle him to foul him. So George Hill goes to the free throw line predictably and makes the first one and gags the second one. And then J.R. Smith loses his mind because he gets the offensive rebound, and the clock runs out because he's dribbling outside. And LeBron goes and sits on the bench and pouts through the timeout before overtime.
Skippy wants to win,
He pouts. Jordan would never pout.
Jordan never pout.
Heck no.
Oh my
He would've rallied the
God.
troops
Now
and
you
said,
know.
"We're gonna-"
Now you know Jordan's teammates were not always happy with the way how he acted.
Yeah,
and
but
part,
they were
part of that was
scared
because
to-
of how he pouted.
They were scared. No, not pouted. He would pout over their performance, maybe, but not
That's what
about.
Bron
but
was doing.
He didn't go
Pouting.
sit at the end of
That's
the bench.
pouting.
No, he would get in their face and say, "You're going to suck it up, and you're going to hit this shot or that shot."
But that's why I would argue that LeBron.
I was pleasantly shocked by the super fans who challenged me repeatedly with high intellect, high energy, high charisma. They made me laugh. They made me think.
I mean, I've watched Skip on everything, on ESPN growing up my entire life. The fact that I could sit here and actually go head to head with Skip, and people from back home could watch me.
Yeah,
do
that's
that,
dope.
It's,
That's
the
fire.
feeling is unreal.
So the
That's
opportunity
dope, man.
to sit there, even for 6 minutes, and
That's
discuss
a great ass idea
the NFL,
to like,
Patrick Mahomes,
do
and the Chiefs.
with people. I would definitely
that
watch
was the coolest
these.
thing in the world.
The only time I was like frustrated was because they allowed Skip to be Skip, and like it's Skip Bayless. But no, cut him off. He's cutting you off. Cut him off too.
I'm highly impressed
Yeah.
that you could find that many people who could hang with me.